On April 22nd, 2026, OpenAI completely shifted the landscape of AI at work. We are officially moving past that solo prompting era. Just you staring at a chat box. The new reality? It's all about shared team workflows. So today's explainer is going to break down the introduction of Workspace agents in ChatGPT. Now, the big shift here isn't that AI just magically got a million times smarter overnight. It's that AI is becoming organizational. We are looking at shared, Codex-powered agents running in the cloud across your tools, literally while you're asleep.
But of course, that brings us to the absolutely crucial question every single operator needs to ask right now. Do these cloud-based agents actually reduce your team's coordination overhead, or are they just going to create entirely new risks and a massive avalanche of new busy work? Let's figure it out.
So let's dive into this paradigm shift. Think about the old solo chat model. One prompt gets you one answer, and bam, the interaction dies right there, right? Well, now you package a workflow once, you share it with your team, and you just let it run in the background. It completely shifts our focus from asking, what can this model do, to what workflows can we actually safely standardize and reuse?
Let's strip away all the hype for a second. Here is your clean, simple mental model. A Workspace agent is simply a workflow with memory, tools, and guardrails. That's it. Powered by Codex, these handle handoffs and decisions across teams. Because, let's face it, that is where real work actually lives. Let's picture a whiteboard for a moment and map out how this works in practice. First up, you have the trigger. This is the specific event that kicks the whole shared workflow off. It could be a new email, a form submission, or honestly, just a specific time of day. Next, we have the steps. Since the agent is cloud-based, it executes a predefined series of actions across your integrated tools. We're talking pulling CSVs, reading requests, gathering data, and it's doing all of this entirely in the background.
And finally, the approvals. This is absolutely key. The automated process literally pauses for human handoffs. It waits for your decisions. Because it's really not about replacing the team. It's about setting up a workflow that runs right up to the exact point where human judgment is actually required.
To make this super concrete, OpenAI provided 5 starter templates. So you've got a software review agent to triage requests, a product feedback router capturing those Slack signals, a weekly metrics reporter generating charts, a lead outreach agent qualifying your inbound contacts, and a third-party risk agent screening vendors. Are you seeing the pattern here? It's incredibly powerful. You just turn a recurring checklist into a reusable agent.
Think about packaging a workflow almost like a digital product. Take something like Howard's Side Hustle Command Center on Etsy. It basically just packages a structured template into a reusable dashboard. That is exactly the mindset you need here. You aren't just writing instructions anymore. You are packaging a repeatable process for your entire team.
Okay, now here's where the skeptical analyst in the room interrupts and says, hold on a second, show me the safety gates. If these agents are running long, complex workflows across our company tools in the background, how on earth do we avoid a catastrophic accident?
And you know what? That is exactly the right question to ask. The governance model here requires you to treat these agents basically like interns who have keys to the building. You manage them through scoped access and the principle of least privilege. So you define exactly what data an agent can see, that's its read-only access, versus what it can actually change, which is its write access.
So the crucial point to remember is this. For sensitive steps, you absolutely must require explicit permission. If the agent wants to edit a spreadsheet or send an email or publish a public reply, it hits an approval gate. It stops, pings a human, and it waits for a green light. That is exactly how you keep this whole thing safe and auditable.
But let's be real for a minute. This skeptic is going to jump right back in and say, hey, this is really just different coordination. And they're not wrong. The promise of AI agents is less overhead, sure, but that coordination tax doesn't completely disappear. It just moves to a totally different part of the workflow.
Exactly. We have to be brutally honest about the new failure modes this introduces. First, brittle workflows. When an automated process breaks, a human still has to drop absolutely everything to fix it. Second, tool drift. When a connected API changes, well, your agent gets confused. And third, overtrust. When an agent produces a plausible but totally wrong answer, humans are incredibly susceptible to just mindlessly clicking approve.
So how do we actually mitigate that? Well, the grounded success pattern is to start with low-risk workflows. You mandate those approval gates, you rigorously log the outputs, and you iterate safely over time. You definitely do not hand over the keys to the castle on day one.
All right, let's move to a practical lab you can actually run right now. We call this the 1-2-3 operator playbook.
Workspace agents are currently in research preview, but they are completely free to use until May 6, 2026, which is when the credit-based pricing kicks in. So, you have a window right now to test this out safely.
First rule, do not start with a massive company-wide process. Just pick one weekly report you already do, like a pipeline update or maybe a content calendar. Write out the standard operating procedure in exactly 10 strict bullets. Then, build an agent that takes those inputs and drafts the report, but absolutely must ask for your review before it can publish or send anything.
Once you have that single agent running, it's time to track your success without all the hype. Over a 2-week period, I want you to measure 2 specific numbers. The first metric is minutes saved. Literally track exactly how much time this automated drafting process is shaving off your weekly workload.
The second critical metric to track is edits required. Are you spending more time fixing the agent's draft than you would have spent just writing the whole thing yourself? This right here is your clear ROI formula. If the minutes saved go up and the edits required go down, then, and literally only then, do you have a workflow that is actually worth scaling.
Ultimately, our analysis points to a very clear dividing line for operators right now: draft-only agents versus action agents. Workspace agents take your tribal knowledge and turn it into a reusable workflow with strict guardrails. The winning pattern for sure is draft first. You build agents that prepare the work, hit an approval gate, and you only expand to true action agents when the cost of an error is exceptionally low.
That brings us right to the edge of what this technology is asking of us. It's forcing us to define our own organizational risk tolerance. So I leave you with this. Would you let an agent touch your real tools if it had to ask approval for the risky steps?